Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Greasy's Garage, Bravo 6. Hey y'all, welcome back again. We're working on Bravo 6. You just saw the last episode of the introductory episode. You know exactly what we're going to be doing today because we already talked about it in there. We're going to be putting this body and all the metal parts in that frame in epoxy. Now, it's not a day job. This is going to take us a while because here, this body came and this frame came as bare steel metal, okay? So, we have to put 40 to 80 grit scratches in this metal to make the epoxy stick. Now, epoxy, it helps seal in, so it doesn't allow the flash rusting to happen again. If you was to leave just a little tiny bit of fleck of a rust or whatever, it encapsulates that, seals that in, and just won't allow it to ever escape back up, cuts off the oxygen so it can't grow. Cancer is what we call the rust. You know, that's going to be our biggest thing here. So we want to make sure that we get a nice clean body, nice clean frame, no rust and no fingerprints. So make sure when you're doing this, you're wearing gloves, rubber gloves. We'll be wearing rubber gloves when we do it. Because everywhere you touch this now is going to be oil off of your skin and making rust. That's the thing about dealing with raw metal, bare metal. I love these sanding sponges right here. This is a 60 grit. Now I go 60 grit on these. I go 80 grit when I'm working the DA. If I'm using anything like that, I'll use 80 grit, but I like 60 grit on these. That helps you so you're not sitting there all day because you got a hand sand. And the reason why I like these sponges is there's going to be places that you're not going to be able to get in with the DA, obviously. I'll give you a perfect example right here on the back side, right here where this windshield frame will go. You know, you could take that, fold that in, and get into that crevice right there. And then you can get that down to good 60 scratches. 60, 80, it doesn't matter because here's what's going to happen. After we get this in 60 and 80 scratches, I'm going to put the whole thing in epoxy. Don't forget the insides. That's another reason for this because you got to get in there by hand. So we're going to have to get in there and get every little crook and cranny. One of the things, if you've never done this, you know, I love to help the guy at home that's never done this. I'm going to give you a tip. When you paint or primer or anything, your edges are the most important part. The edges are the most important part. You have to make sure that you get those edges, because if you do not get those edges and do not get a good adhesion there, we just hit a Kentucky word, adhesion. All right, so get that in there so then that bites, because on any of those edges that wants to peel off. So if you're ever putting primer on something that's got edges like this, make sure that you prep those very, very well. Okay, so DA 80 grit is what we're going to use. Go around this. Everywhere that we have to hand sand, we're going to be using 60 grit sponges, and we're going to get started.
If this is your first time with us, allow me to extend a personal invitation for you to get your brushes and your paints and paint along with us each show.
So as you've seen, we got the body all sanded down with 40 grit. You can see we got the doors off, the deck lid, and the vent up front's all out, so we can get that good epoxy in there. So, but here's what we're doing next. So one of the things I like to do is I like to clean with glass cleaner, and we've been testing this Baker Auto Glass Repair Baker. Auto Enterprises is what it says. Anyway, this is local to me, and I've been testing this stuff, and I'm loving it. So I'm gonna start offering this up on the website. But it's a shameless plug, but that's not what this is about. When you get ready to prep a body, clean it with glass cleaner. It's got alcohol in it, it evaporates out. And then one of the things that we do when we clean it is we try to clean and keep going until we don't have a dirty rag anymore. Okay? So this is the first rag. Let me give it to you. Let me show it to you. Kind of give a comparison, maybe. Get that laid out. So that was the very first rag that we cleaned with, and you can see this is the second rag. So it's getting a little better, but I will keep going until that rag is no more. It doesn't show anything. That because we were trying to put, I'm trying to put a very professional, high quality. I mean, this thing is going to be slick as you know what. You can figure out that part. But that's what we're going to do. And then after we do that, after we get that away, then I will take wax and grease remover to make sure there's no hands. We don't touch this body again. So there's no hands, prints, no fingerprints, no oils that was left over from manufacturing. We get all that off, and then we're ready to spray it. So that's what we're doing right now. There's your tip for the day. Make sure that's how you clean it. Get you some of this Baker Auto Glass from the website, and go down and hit that subscribe and the notification bell so you'll be notified of all upcoming videos. All right, we're getting ready to lay the epoxy primer. So if you've never painted a car before, here's my advice to you. Don't be afraid to spray epoxy primer because you got to sand it anyway. You can run it, doesn't matter, okay? That's okay, but let me give you a tip. If you've never sprayed or you're new to spraying, what I want you to do is two things. I want you to spray from the bottom up, and then I want you to do it all left-handed if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, I want you to do it all right-handed. Because when you're spraying a car, there's going to be a time where you're going to need, if you're right-handed, you're going to need that left hand to reach out. Okay? So if you can learn to spray with the opposite hand, practice while you're doing your primers. That's the best time to do that because it doesn't matter if you mess it up. As long as you get primer on it, it doesn't matter if you mess it up because you're going to be sanding it anyway. All right? So spray from the bottom up. Okay? And the reason why we do that is so that you're practicing for when it comes time to put paint on. You spray from the top down, all right, or the bottom up. You can do it either way, but I prefer to go from bottom up. And the reason why is because as I'm spraying, I've got a wet coat as I'm going from the bottom up, my wet coat. So any overspray that's falling as I'm going up dissolves into that wet base that I already have laid down. If you go from the top down, which is perfectly acceptable, all that overspray is still falling on a panel and it can create some texture. So when I'm trying to do a really good paint job, I go from the bottom up. Primer, it doesn't really matter. So today you're going to see me, I'm just going to be all over the place because I've done this enough times and I'm not going to just do it all left-handed. But that would be a good tip for you. I'll go ahead and do this one side from the bottom up and show you what I'm talking about, and then I'm just going to go to town on it. So we're getting ready to lay in some primer.
I'll do it left-handed bottom up.
I'll tell you something else this does for you too. This allows you to learn the best ways to move around the car when you go to lay the paint. So, I mean, like, okay, I'm just going to start in this corner, and then I'll lay it out like that. Or I need to start over here, I need to start over here. It kind of starts to give you that plan of how to lay that paint out. So there's a perfect example. I painted that up to there, so now I can go the full panel. See, I couldn't do the full panel because it was this big wheel well was in the way. So I had to do and then like that. Now I can do the whole panel. All right, I'm gonna quit talking and paint. All right, so we got that first coat down. Normally I just try to do one coat with epoxy. I'll let this set up a little bit, go grab some lunch or whatever, and then come over with a flashlight and see if there's any thin places I need to touch up. Tip about epoxy, if you're sprayed it, don't leave it sitting in your gun though. Clean your gun out. If you can mix more, clean your gun again. It's well worth it. You leave it sitting in there. It ruins guns first of all, and it's impossible to get out after it dries. So I'll let this set up a little bit. Still got a little bit left in the cup. Make sure there's no really thin spots, and then there you have it. So we're not doing the inside yet. We're going to do that at a different time. But this allows us to get this thing drying. Always like epoxy primers to set for a week or so. Make sure there's no problems before we start laying paint over it anyway. So there you have it.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, we went and grabbed a bite to eat. Came back, took a flashlight, went over, got everything pretty much well covered, so didn't really have to do any touch-up. So it's done. Off camera, we got to do the inside still, and got to do underneath. We'll get all that done. We got to get the frame in epoxy. If you want to see a frame, I've done that on the 64 America truck, so you can see that over there. So we're not going to show you that. We'll get the frame in epoxy. So next episode, we're going to try to get the running gear on it, get the springs on it, and get the body set on it. So next time you see it, hopefully that body will be sitting on that frame, and it might, I'm not going to promise, might be a roller. Go down and hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you stayed this video this long, I really do think you're doing America right there. So anyway, appreciate you, love you. God bless you. Now go do your America.